An estimated crowd of 25,000 turned out to see some of the best in cycling compete in the 7th annual Cobblestone Classic. An estimated crowd of 25,000. An estimated crowd of 25,000.
The 1991 Canadian Tire National Cycling Series starts in Winnipeg with the Cobblestone Classic. Welcome to Winnipeg, Manitoba and the 1991 Cobblestone Classic. Hello everyone, I'm Jerry Dobson and this is the Canadian Tire National Cycling Series. We kick it off here in Winnipeg with race number 1. And Brady is part of a new team. This is Team Cantel, and there's one of his teammates, Alan McCormick, two-time defending series champion. Brian Walton, the former 7-Eleven team member, now with Motorola. There's Alex Steeda. He's also a former 7-Eleven member. Now he's with Evian Miko. Roberto Gaggioli, a very tough rider. He's always in there with the leaders. And a look at the course here through the streets of downtown Winnipeg. 62 laps. It's 1.6 kilometers long. 5 laps are special bonus point laps, so they can collect points which will go to the overall standings at the end of the series. And it's a very tight course here in Winnipeg. 8 tight turns as we have a look at the field now. 52 riders here today, and it's an international field. We have teams from the United States, teams from Canada, some provincial teams, and some independent riders from various other countries as well.
There's only one free lap for every rider. Riders ready, and we are underway, ladies and gentlemen. The Canadian Tire Cobblestone Classic.
And so we are racing here in Winnipeg, and joining me once again, Eric Moffat. Eric, what can we look forward to in the early part of this race?
I think you'll see in the early stages of this race, just setting them a rhythm. The riders, they'll get loose, get their legs into it, and I don't think you'll see too many breaks early on.
And unlike last year when it rained here, rained heavily at times, we have pretty good conditions here. It's slightly overcast right now, but the sun has been coming through most of the day, and conditions are dry, temperature in the low to mid-20s, so it should be ideal.
I notice though it's dusty, and that can have a real bad effect, especially for riders who are out front. Speaking of riders, Sean Wallace, an independent from Great Britain.
There he goes, Sean Wallace looking over his shoulder there in the white jersey, so he has taken the lead here. He appears to be trying to make a bit of a break of it. That's very early in the race to be doing something like that.
Very early. It is very unusual. This guy, 3 years ago, was one of the best riders in this series, and he fell off, unfortunately, fell back into the field, shall we say, so maybe he's trying to establish himself again.
Sean Wallace out to the early start here. Look at that. He's opened up, well, a fairly substantial lead. You can see it there for yourself as the peloton now moves around the corner behind him.
The riders don't seem too worried about him, but you never know. This is a tight course, as we talked about. And if a rider gets away, it's unlike Toronto, where it's more of a loop, and the peloton can reel him in.
And you can almost see the dust in the air as well. There was a go-kart race here, and that's created a lot of debris on the course as Sean Wallace wins that lap there in the preem that goes with it, so he doesn't seem to be having any problems, but it is extremely dusty out there.
Very dusty, and that's a problem if you're out front. Usually, if you have another rider to block for you, you can rest and get a bit of a draft and not get all that dust.
The rest of the peloton as they chase that man, Sean Wallace. Welcome back to Winnipeg in the 1991 Canadian Tire Cobblestone Classic. Jerry Dobson here along with Eric Moffat, and the field has reeled back in Sean Wallace. In fact, we have new leaders.
Sean Wallace couldn't keep up the pace as an independent. We have Gene Samuel of Team Garden out of the States, and Roberto Gaggioli, a tough Italian who's on the Coors Light team.
Samuel and Gaggioli have replaced Sean Wallace as the leaders here. Let's see if these two can make something work.
They look like they're going to try and make a break. Samuel's out of Trinidad, very big rider in the Caribbean, and Gaggioli, of course, has been one of the top sprinters for many years now, so they're trying to make it work.
Now, will they try and make it work? They're from two different teams, so in effect they're competitors, so will they try and work together? You see Gaggioli keeps looking at him. Now they're talking.
That's it. It looks like Gaggioli has decided that because he's on the wrong team, shall we say, they're going to wait, let the peloton, and they start all over. It's like a bit of a chess game. They go back in and reshuffle and see who's going to come out front again. Evian Miko, of course, would love to be up near there. Well as Coors Light.
And this is a sprint for a point cream. A big sprint coming up here. 2 points on the line to the winner of this lap. And I believe that was Les Aikens who picks up 2 points for the overall series. So that may help him somewhere down the line.
Almost too close to call. Aikens of the Cheetah Racing team out of Abbotsford, BC. And staying out front, Having a look now, as he looks back, he's looking for some of his teammates. All he sees are the main contenders, Evian Miko and Coors Light.
Coors Light team from the United States, always extremely strong. They have not been a factor in this race yet. There goes Alex Stida of Team Evian Miko in the pink jersey. So Stida is trying to make a go of it.
And that radically new bike he talked about a little earlier. And right behind him, Thomas Craven of the Team Cantel. And behind him, Todd McNutt, his teammate. So they'll hope to try and link up and start to pull away.
So Stida and Todd McNutt of Evian Miko perhaps getting out there to work together. Tom Craven maybe throwing a little monkey wrench into their plans, but there you can see on the left, that's Stida and McNutt together.
Of course, Alan McCormick of Team Cantel is the one who wants to be out there. Maybe Craven's trying to hold Evian Miko back.
Oh, and McNutt had a bit of a problem there. It looked as though he caught his pedal on the pavement. So, and yeah, there Stida looks back at him. He waves Stida on, so McNutt has got a problem. He has slowed right down there. He'll have to go into the pits for repairs.
No big break for Evian Miko. Stida will fall back into the group while McNutt is in the pits.
So how quickly it can change. We had two Evian Miko players out front there, Stida and McNutt. Now Stida's by himself, and Cantel has two guys up front there. That is Tom Craven leading, Stida in behind. And in behind Stida, that's Alan McCormick. So maybe the Cantel team can get something together.
Todd McNutt in the pits to have his pedal looked at, and he'll get a free lap.
So while McNutt gets his pedal repaired, we go back to the leaders. There's Stida, and in behind him is Craven and McCormick. A bit of a cat-and-mouse game here, and somebody goes into the lead. That's Brian Walton of Motorola has jumped in front.
Walton of North Vancouver, BC, the only Motorola rider here today.
And he's making a go of it right now. You can see the peloton in behind. They look, well, I won't say frantic, but they look like they're a little bit concerned as Walton has really opened it up here.
This guy is a serious contender. Just finished a strong European spring, and so they're going to be nervous. They're going to start to pick up the pace.
Brian Walton, a very strong rider. Look at him upright on his bike. He looks to be well in control of what's going on here, and there's the peloton. His lead is not that large right now, and he is on his own, so we'll have to see what unfolds here.
Of course, Sean Wallace had a problem earlier in the race getting out on his own, but Walton miles ahead of Wallace as far as experience. He's a very experienced time trialer, so he knows how to ride by himself.
Brian Walton out on his own now. He's the only member, as we said, of Team Motorola here. And he's $100 richer. He picks up the preem there as we are down to 47 laps remaining. Brian Walton of North Vancouver, BC, out on his own now as the peloton will have to try and chase him down. And there's McNutt. I guess he's ready to get back in the race.
Had that pedal changed, had a little bit of a repair. Now he's back in the race. He's got to work with Stida, try and reel in Brian Walton.
And how things might have changed had McNutt not had that problem. He and Stida looked like they were maybe ready to do something, but that all fell apart, and now it's Brian Walton out on his own.
That's bike racing, as they say, and Walton just passing up some of the slower riders. He seems to be establishing himself a lot better now.
So Brian Walton starting to lap the field here. Still early in the race, and Walton is lapping riders.
On the 15th lap, you're not going to see too many riders go off on their own. But as I said, he's used to being by himself as a time trialer, so he doesn't need that extra rider to sort of draft him and let him rest.
He looks so confident on his seat. He looks like he's in complete control, very stylish rider.
He's very strong. You can see by the way he's consistent in his pedal work, and he's got his body low. He looks like he could hold out for a while.
A fine sunny day here in the Exchange District of Winnipeg, downtown Winnipeg. This is the Cobblestone Classic, and Brian Walton is in control, but it's still early in this race. And so the Canadian Tire Cobblestone Classic will continue in just a moment. Walton's former team, 7-Eleven, no longer exists, so he is with Motorola, who has taken over that sponsorship. Oh, and we've got riders down. Two riders going down here.
Team Manitoba, Ray Burrell, number 46, and Tony Ward, number 48, but they look all right.
Where go you guys? They're back on their bikes very quickly and off and racing again.
They're right at the end, and at the same time, block all the other contending riders behind them.
So Coors Light really blocking it off on the front, setting it up for their man, and in behind there's Brian Walton. No problems for him.
Brian Walton, number 6, resting at the back of the peloton. He doesn't need a team. He's going to be a spectator for this finish.
So it's setting itself up nicely now for a sprint to the finish. And there are 3 teams involved. Coors Light, there they are at the front. Team Cantel in behind. They're wearing the gray jerseys. The bright pink ones belong to the team members of Evian Mikko.
And these longer stretches of the course, we'll see how they can break open, spread the field wide in an effort to get each lead rider out front.
All coming to a close here in just a few moments.
We're approaching the end of 2 laps remaining, which means we'll soon be on our final lap. And the jockeying for position continues here. Coors Light and Evian Mikko and Team Cantel all in good position, all within striking distance here.
David Farmer out front for Coors Light. Right behind him, Chris Huber, and then Roberto Gaggioli. They look ready to make a major move for this finish.
Remember, of course, this is for second place. First place has already been wrapped up by Brian Walton. This is the race for second that we're concentrating now as we head into the last lap. There's Brian Walton. His race is all his. All he has to do is stay on his bike. The race now is for second.
Coors Light, very, very strong out front. They've been able to block the other teams and hopefully get there at the end.
There goes Walton. He'll cruise this last lap. There's no problem for him. But up ahead, starting to get going here now. This is the Coors Light team in front.
Everybody up in their pedals. They're trying to establish a speed level to go along with the fact that they're out front. Whoa, and Steeda is down, along with Tom Craven, looks like, of Team Cantel.
Oh, there goes the chances of Cantel and Evian Mikko. That is Evian Mikko. That is Tom Craven on his back, so he's in some difficulty. Steeda went down as well. Meanwhile, back at the sprint for the finish. Coors Light in front. A couple of their riders out front. I think it's Chris Huber and Roberto Gaggioli now have moved up in front. There goes Huber. There's Gaggioli in behind him.
Oh, they're in a great position now. The other 2 lead riders of the 2 top teams are down. All they have to do is sprint.
So it's a sprint to the finish for Huber and Gaggioli, and they can sprint against each other, and it's Gaggioli.
Wow.
Roberto Gaggioli grabs second. Huber is third. Meanwhile, here's the carnage resulting from that crash a little earlier. Thomas Craven still on his back. Steeda is up, but Craven is still down. But meanwhile, here comes Brian Walton cruising through the finish line. What a satisfying day for him.
Great race.
No problem for Brian Walton. Get some congratulations there. He led this race from the 15th lap on, and he never looked back. Brian Walton, the winner, 15 points in the overall standings. Roberto Gaggioli second. Chris Huber picks up third, but he's tied with Gaggioli because he picked up a 2-point preem. John Brady and Gene Samuel wrapping up the top 5.
Thanks. Well, early on, the guys just kept chasing down the solo breaks, and since I was by myself, I just had to play my time and wait till they were a little tired, and I felt a little lull in the race and decided to go for it. It was a little early, but things turned out for the best.
Lap 15, definitely early. What was the feeling at that moment that you wanted to do it then?
Like I said, I felt a lull in the race, and I've been training very hard. And time trialing is my specialty. I just came second in a time trial in Switzerland about 10 days ago, so I knew I was strong, and just decided to put my head down and go for it.
Well, that's a great, great race. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Roberto Gaggioli, second place. Not too bad. Very strong considering Walton went out very early.
Yeah, Brian, it's like another planet. It goes so fast. We try chase, like poor guy, but we don't. So he's very strong today.
You guys were in the main chase group for a long time with Steeda and some of the others. What were your tactics trying to do?
Oh, we try chase. We work together, but he's so strong and we can do it.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So the awards presentation now with Jeff Roach.
The gold medal, the plaque, the series leader's jersey. Winner's jersey first. For the Canadian Tire Cobblestone Classic, Jim O'Brien, our race director, an outstanding job once again, Jim.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
And now, here comes the fun part. It's time for a little champagne. A word to the wise. Here it comes. The champagne celebration. Brian Walton ahead of Roberto Gaggioli and Chris Huber.